we're telling the story of how a company takes responsibility for its impact. First, from the strategy and analysis why sustainability matters to us. This is the opening scene. The company explains what impact it creates, why those impacts matter, how it manages them, and what its future plans are. Everything starts with a materiality assessment. Because GRI uses double materiality, the company looks at how it affects the world and how the world affects the company. Then it sets clear targets and KPIs so the strategy becomes action. Second, from the organizational profile, who we are. Here's the report gives basic context, what the company does, where it operates, and who oversees sustainability. It also shows ongoing stakeholder engagement, not just one-time input. Since ESG data comes from many departments, company needs strong system to keep the information reliable. Third is performance indicators, what we've actually done. This is the result chapter. GRI organized performance into economic, environmental, and social. The company presents not just numbers, but trend and explanation, what improved, what didn't, and what comes next. Why GRI matters? GRI improves transparency, support better decision, build trust with investors and communities, help companies save costs like energy efficiency, and prepares them for stricter future regulation. Challenge GRI. GRI reporting can be low because ESG data is complex, assurance costs money, many things like ESG expertise and stakeholders often want different things, but strong governance and digital tools make it manageable. What's the difference between GRI, ISSB, and CSRD? Think of them as three lenses. GRI impacts on people and planet, ISSB what investors can care about financially, and CSRD both because it's regulation. From the materiality, GRI impact, ISSB is financial materiality, and CSRD is double materiality. Is it voluntary or is it mandatory? GRI is voluntary, ISSB is voluntary, CSRD is mandatory in the Europe. Best use GRI is for broad stakeholder, ISSB is for investor, and CSRD is for Europe compliance.
Hi accounting peeps! Our objective today is not merely to list the requirements of the GRI standards, but to articulate their strategic, significance, and integrated structure. The era of purely financial reporting is over. The GRI standards are the global benchmark for transparent, non-financial reporting. This framework is designed to elicit a comprehensive picture of an organization's most significant impact, moving beyond a purely financial lens to encompass economy, environmental, and people. Crucially, the in accordance claim is a null or nothing commitment. The GRI's intent is to prevent selective disclosure. Non-compliance with any requirement invalidates the claim, thereby preserving the integrity of the GRI seal. Understanding this strict compliance kit is the first step in mastering the standards. To achieve that full claim, an organization must comply with 9 specific requirements. These are not disparate tasks, they represent a sequential logical aspect of compliance. Let's break it down one by one. First, requirement 1 demands active application of the reporting principles. They force the organization to contextualize its performance against planetary boundaries and social needs. Requirement 2 establishes the mandatory organizational context via GRI2, General Disclosure. This ensures stakeholders understand who is reporting. Requirement 3 formalizes the materiality assessment. Materiality in the GRI sense is defined by the organization's significant impacts on the economy, environment, and people. Requirement 4 is the bridge from the assessment to the actual content. It requires transparency on the process, the list, and the management. This ensures stakeholders understand the why behind the report focus. Requirement 5 is the execution phase. It requires reporting using the specific GRI topic standards for every material topic identified. This inclusion of sector standard further demands a tailored industry-specific response. Requirement 6 is critical to maintaining robustness. Omissions are permitted only for specific justifiable reasons. The key is that every valid omission must be clearly explained in the GRI Content Index. Requirement 7 makes the GRI Content Index mandatory. This index is the comprehensive table that maps every required disclosure to its location in the report. Requirement 8 mandates the statement of use. The example is like this one. And the last is requirement 9, notify GRI. This simple administrative step ensures the report is registered on the Global Reporting Initiative database. So, but what if full compliance isn't possible? It's vital to distinguish the full in accordance claim from the less onerous option, reporting with reference to the GRI standard. This option provides strategic flexibility, allowing organizations to use selected GRI standard for specific external demands. The requirements are scaled down to the bare minimum. Publish the content index, provide the statement of use with reference to, and also notify GRI.
Hello, accounting colleagues. With our foundational understanding, we can now examine the GRI reporting process, which is comprised of 7 key systematic steps essential for producing a transparent and credible sustainability report. So the first step is commitment to GRI reporting. This is, a, this is the foundation phase. It starts with a formal commitment from the board of directors. The organization must then establish a cross-functional team, define a precise reporting scope and boundaries, allocate a dedicated budget, and develop a realistic reporting roadmap. Further identification and mapping. Here, you must conduct a comprehensive identification of all relevant stakeholders. The key is mapping them based on their respective levels of influence and interest. They are typically categorized as primary, secondary, and tertiary. Stakeholder mapping matrix is the tool used to visualize their influence. The third is the materiality assessment. This is the critical process that dictates the report's relevance. You develop a methodology combining quantitative methods like surveys and qualitative methods, such as focus group discussion. The output is the crucial materiality matrix. Issues in the high priority quadrant are decided as material topics requiring mandatory disclosures. Fourth is data collection. In this phase, you implement a robust system for aggregating both quantitative data, like energy consumption and emissions, and qualitative data, including policies and governance. All data must undergo a rigorous internal audit to ensure accuracy, completeness, and consistency. A clear audit trail is vital. The fifth is the report preparation. This is the transformation of data into a coherent narrative. The report must comply with GRI's principles such as balance, clarity, and comparability. A critical element is the GRI content index. This index pinpoints the location of every disclosure and provides transparent justifications for any omissions. The sixth is assurance or external verification. While optional, this step significantly boosts credibility. You select a level of assurance, from moderate or reasonable. An independent assurance provider examines the report and issues a formal assurance opinion on its reliability and compliance. And the last step is finally the seventh stage, which is publication and response. This involves the strategic dissemination of the report across digital and corporate channels. Post-publication, it is vital to collect and analyze stakeholder feedback. This response is then integrated into a continuous improvement loop, which effectively closes the current cycle while informing the planning for the next one. Adherence to these 7 structure steps is crucial for any organization aiming for transparency and credibility.